I've been painting and drawing on my own since I was really young. My parents noticed I had some talent, so they started putting me in art classes outside of school, so I was very comfortable with the idea of painting something for the project. Around the end of August, we began to seriously work on our projects. I talked with my mentor and decided that my goal is to create a piece of art that conveys ideas of a happy and peaceful art style. I wrestled around between a couple of global context choices, but in the end, the global context that I chose was personal and cultural expression. I chose it because I knew art is a way to express yourself authentically. When you copy someone, you're sacrificing your strengths, values, and visions and are trying to work with strengths that aren't your own. Everyone has a unique style to use to powerfully communicate their authentic ideas. From prior experience, I know there is no wrong way to express yourself through art because there are so many meanings behind one piece of art, and in the end, all individuals interpret a piece differently. During the summer before sophomore year, I kept thinking about my personal project. I went to Santa Fe Art District for fun. Along with the art inside the studios, I noticed a brilliant amount of artwork on the streets and the sides of buildings. I was inspired by them and the way they expressed their own art style. I wanted to paint large scale just like them. I learned a lot from Santa Fe Art District and the people there. Artists with varied talents, techniques, and skills shared tips and were really supportive of my ideas. The artists helped me break down and prioritize my project. For example, everyone that I talked to told me to take my time on sketching ideas, because if I rushed, I could miss out on a really rad idea and be stuck painting something I wasn't proud of. Although the art district helped me a lot, my access was limited to weekends that I was free on, so I had to turn to the World Wide Web to find the answers to my questions. Surprisingly, one of the most helpful sources online was Wikipedia. Even though it said Wikipedia is not a trusted source, people in the art community go through trial and error to keep learning, and what every artist has learned is helpful. Other sources I used were artist blogs like Art is Fun. Blogs like these were helpful because they had very detailed directions and tips about painting on different canvases and what materials to use for which ones. These blogs were also linked to their YouTube channels that had videos of them in action painting their murals. Overall, the videos were some of my favorite because they had a huge variety of styles and techniques being shown. The criteria that I set up for myself are the following: sketch 6 to 8 completely different ideas. Then, out of those, choose one sketch to improve till it's ready to move on to the next step. Next, after I am content with my final sketch, I would paint my idea onto a canvas that is bigger than me. In my painting, I want to use a minimum of 3 colors and values. After I am finished, I want to go out and contact public places to see if they would like to hang up my piece. And finally, I wanted the painting to flow with a style of happy and peaceful thinking. After telling my mentor about my idea of painting a mural, some problems sprouted in my plan. The reality was that having to paint a mural while in school would be hard because of a long commute and the fact that it would be winter time. We decided that it would be better to paint on a large piece of plywood than put it up. In the beginning, I found it kind of difficult finding ideas and inspirations for my sketches. It took time, but after looking at different artists, I successfully made 7 sketches for the project. I did my best to make them all different in style so that I could have a variety of sketches to choose from. I made sure to meet with my mentor and supervisor on time because I knew the dates were set to keep me on track and ahead of schedule. I am very happy that I met with both my mentor and supervisor because they made sure to talk to me about some of the details that would slip my mind. I had a lot more meetings with my mentor than was necessary. On January 15th, my family and I went to Home Depot to buy my canvas. There were a few problems in this plan. The biggest problem was that the plywood was too big and too heavy to fit in the car. After we drove to Michael's, we found a thinner, more lightweight plywood that was meant for painting, and it was definitely the size that I needed. Personal project was during the winter swimming season, so once I came home, the air would be too cold for the paint to dry. Not to mention, I would be freezing cold. The solution me and my mom came up with was to move around my activities and schedule each of my extracurriculars so that I could paint and go to practice during the week and manage my time way easier. I started talking to companies that might hang my piece up even before I fully completed my mural. but I still ran into a few problems. Near the end of January was where I really began to struggle because all the companies that I have been talking to began to tell me that they couldn't take my piece because their store owners needed more time to think or that they didn't have enough wall room. On the 24th of January, the public library said they wouldn't take my piece, and on the 27th, a local yoga studio transferred me to the location I wanted to put my piece up, but they never answered. Good thing I had a backup. My school library told me that there was a spot open for my piece when I started the project, so I ended up putting it there. At first I was kind of bummed out, but soon lots of kids would compliment me during school, and I decided that it was pretty cool to have it at. For my personal project, I had many ideas about what I could do. I wrote about choices like baking, getting a job, swimming, food, fitness, art, photography, or sleep. I crossed some off because they were just bound to not work out, and some because I couldn't see myself liking the idea. After thinking, I decided I was far more interested in art than any other topic, and I wanted to spend my time doing a hobby that I loved. I began the project by looking at different artists that I liked and finding inspiration. Art that I saw helped brew ideas about colors and other drawing elements. Once I had an idea for a sketch, I would go to my sketchbook and draw a detailed sketch of my idea. Over the month of September, I met with both my mentor and supervisor. I also managed to make 7 nice sketches. As soon as I finished my 5th sketch, I was almost sure it was the right one. My mentor urged me to make a couple more sketches so I wouldn't be missing out. He was absolutely right. I fell in love with my 7th sketch. I kept my global context in mind so I could make my art piece flow with my art style. I tried to use techniques to create a more peaceful feeling. For example, I used curved lines instead of sharp lines and calm colors instead of bright, over-the-top colors to create a happy feeling. December 1st, I wrote about how I narrowed down which sketch I wanted to work on and make a final copy. First, I put them in order and found my 3 favorites. I looked at them and critiqued the backgrounds, artistic elements, and techniques. I chose the piece that I thought was pretty technical, but not technical enough that it would disturb the painting process. I knew that I needed to get my canvas before I finished my sketches because I didn't want to waste time between being completely done and not having anything to paint on, so I bought my canvas right away. I finalized my sketch and brought plenty of painting supplies. On January 17th, I was ready to paint. I started by drawing the outlines on the plywood with pencil. Once the lines were correct and the proportions were correct, I outlined the whole thing in bold permanent marker. I frequently had my mentor come and check out my process so I wouldn't stray from my product. He helped me see some mistakes that I probably would have not caught on my own. My supervisor and my mentor did an extraordinary job of helping me prioritize my project. For example, I knew that at some point I would have to start talking to people about hanging my mural up. I had started to prioritize things over it and I didn't even notice, but my supervisor made sure to remind me about it and that I really needed to start talking to people. She was very correct because the companies that I talked to had to go through a lot of work to see if they had room in their buildings. A lot of companies declined my offer to put up my mural, so I had to move on and talk to more people. Soon, time was running out and I needed to get a finalized spot. Then, I found the school's library where they were willing to hang my piece. Over the course of this project, I was able to complete all my criteria. First, I completed 7 sketches for my first criterion to have at least 6 sketches of different ideas. I focused a lot on each idea and the symbols in each piece, so I could incorporate my personal and cultural expression in my ideas of positive and happy thinking. After that, I chose one sketch and made it better than it was before by adding subtle but important changes. Next, I bought my canvas. The plywood was 6 by 4 feet, which was definitely meeting my requirement of being taller than me. I definitely used a wide range of colors and values and exceeded my criteria of having a minimum of 3 colors in my piece. And finally, I called and contacted several places about displaying my piece. I chose one and got it there on time to be displayed. It might be very cliche, but over the time of this project, I feel like I have grown a lot. I began to manage my time more efficiently. Instead of just having my classwork to do, now I was balancing personal projects, swim team, and homework. I began to schedule all my activities so I would be productive in my day instead of missing activities and falling behind in classes. I learned about new styles of art away from the traditional paper and pencil I've always been taught. I noticed that I also began to communicate better. I began to communicate better with teachers and between kids in my classes. I talked about my ideas confidently and clearly so that my audience could have a better understanding of my ideas. In the beginning, I had the idea that I didn't need help during the project, but once I started talking to people and listened to their criticism, I saw that my piece began to form not only in a technical way, but in a well-rounded sense. Instead of getting annoyed at people who are criticizing me, I began to get along with people who are giving me helpful criticism. I knew that if I was the only one criticizing my piece, it would be one-sided. Once I got others' opinions, my piece was more appealing to a wide variety of people. My project was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. The nature of my project is purposefully to express my creative personality. That's why I chose the global context of personal and cultural expression. I learned that through art, I could express my ideas, beliefs, and values. I wanted my piece to have a happy and peaceful tone. I used lighter color schemes, focusing on lighter colors with less pigment, like light blues, grays, and whites. In the design aspect of my piece, I wanted to use more curved lines to create a flowing feeling through the whole piece. I chose the outline of a person in a meditative position because I knew it would be the ultimate symbol for peace. The word meditation is used so loosely, but really, meditation is a technique of resting the mind and attaining a state of peacefulness. That's why I knew it would be a great symbol for my ideas of happy and peaceful thinking.